Hi, this is a follow-up for my Dark Night of the Soul video. I just talked about my experience, kind of then, covered it briefly, but this one is an advice. My advice is, as much as I can give, on people who are going through Dark Night of the Souls and not almost what to expect, because I can tell you a bit of that, but it's going to be different for everyone, but things to sort of hold on to and try and remember whilst you're going through them. The first thing that I've put down is that no matter what your brain tells you, because it's going to try and take the complete opposite to what you really want to believe in, remember that you are not alone, that you are not suffering this for the first time. You're not the first human being to ever have gone through this, or worse. You will get through it. No matter what you think now, it does get better, and it might take a long time, but you will get through it. And don't think you need to suffer alone. Talk to people. A lot of people around you might not understand, but there are people out there who can understand this in a certain way. And just no matter, your brain will say differently. Your brain will try and convince you that you're a complete freak, that that no one is going to understand you, that you'll just get sectioned and put away if you do try and talk about it, and that it's a completely mental experience and it's not spiritual at all. But that leads me on to my second point. Always remember, no matter what your brain tells you, that you are a spiritual being, and that this is a spiritual experience, no matter how disconnected and isolated you may feel in those moments. Think about it this way: if you didn't know how lonely and disconnected and isolated and cut off from source and love and unity you could feel, you would never appreciate those feelings when you came out of them. And I know for a lot of people it's a very up and down experience, where they think they've got out of it and they have these epiphanies, and then all of a sudden they'll sink back in because their brain will start to question these revelations that they've come to. But that's the process. It's a path, like a wave of feeling horrible and then feeling amazing because you've come to the realization in that low point that something happens, something you've thought of has released you from it, and then all of a sudden you'll start to question that thought, and then you'll be sunk back down again, and that's the wave of experience. You know, you'll go through things like I did, where your dreams, you'll wake up from awful nightmares that literally buzz in your mind. They have such a low vibration, these horrible experiences where when I was going through the worst of it, I could only sleep for maybe 2 hours at a time before I'd be woken up by these terrible nightmares, and I'd be shaking. I'd be too scared to go back to sleep again, and the feeling, the essence, the overlap from the nightmare would be still with me in my waking life, and they'd really affect me. And this was a really big thing for me, the nightmares. And to me, dreams are still a thing that I'm dealing with. But yeah, I'd also have panic attacks at random times. Like, I'd be with friends. I went over to Liverpool to visit my best friend, and I was sat at her table, and by all accounts I should have been really happy. I hadn't seen her for ages, and you know, it was everything. And her and a group of people she lived with were talking amongst each other, and I could feel it coming back. And I was just sat there, and it was this terrible feeling of, oh my God, even when I'm supposed to be being happy, it doesn't subside. And that can be really discouraging. But just remember it's all part of it. It's all, this happens because you are in such a state of flux. It's a big life-changing event, and you are spiritual. Don't forget that. And the other thing is, don't get scared and beat yourself up when something that you think should work or that worked for you before doesn't work anymore. For example, meditation. A lot of people say if you can meditate your way out of it, you can clear your mind, and you know, these things will dissipate, they'll fade away, and you'll be able to get into a stillness. But for me, that was never the case. I mean, I never meditated properly beforehand either. I never I was always a big thinker. I never stilled my mind. I wasn't really into that, but I thought, oh, I read about it and people said, oh, this is really helpful, this meditating stuff, you need to do that. And I tried it, and it would, again, I've said this before, it used to induce panic attacks in me. Like, I'd get too focused in on it, and all of a sudden I'd be like, oh my god, no, it's not working, and then that's it. It would blow up in my mind, and it'd be a horrible experience to go through. And there'd also be on my low points where I couldn't connect to crystals, or they'd just feel like rocks. I wouldn't be able to connect with the energy of them, and other things that I'd be watching on YouTube. This was a big research time for me. This tends to be the case for a lot of people, that they just get so into researching what it is that's going on with them that a lot of things come up. And one of the things that I did read about was that during this dark night of the soul, meditation is often not good. It actually can induce psychosis or mental breakdown in you, rather than actually help you to clear your mind. What I found was actually better, far better, was distracting myself. Going off for a walk, and I mean, I would go off for walks at like 4 in the morning and stuff. I had such an irregular sleeping pattern, and I'd just walk off to this place near me, the allotments, where people had chickens and stuff like that, and I'd wander through there. I'd sit down for a bit until I'd calm down, and that was always a lot more productive than sometimes than things that I was so accustomed to doing when I needed a bit of advice or help before, or I needed to calm down, which would be like reading the runes and stuff, or any other oracles, or, you know, something like that. But I would suggest that you do something to distract yourself, and it's normally action based, because a lot of the time I'd try and distract myself by watching a film or watching something funny, and I just couldn't connect with it, and I'd just be panicking at the fact that I couldn't connect with it, and that I didn't find it funny, and what the hell was wrong with me, kind of thing. And that's not useful. So do active things to distract yourself, and don't get caught up in the fact that even if that doesn't work, just keep going, go somewhere else, do something else, just keep moving with it, just keep going. Get out into nature, that's a good thing to do. Try and reconnect to fresh air and earth and all that stuff. It does tend to ground you a little bit. The other thing is there are a lot of guided meditations and things like that. I'm trying to remember, the one I found really helpful was because even though I couldn't meditate to still my mind, I could visualise a bit still, which was helpful, especially when you feel yourself moving up a bit and you're calming down a little bit. Take that opportunity to go and do something like this with the guided meditation. And the one I did was it was Neil Cooper, or Shep, I think his YouTube channel is, where he's got a guided meditation for mental illness, bipolar, depression, anything like that, and it's a very loving video where he sends out a lot of healing light and you know, ring of protection, and tells you that you are loved, at the same time as getting you to lie down and relax, and you know, it's 15 to 20 minutes long, and it really does help. Like, it helped me anyway. You might find something else works for you that wouldn't have worked for me. Obviously this is all relative, it's completely dependent on who you are and what you're going through. But yeah, that's one good thing to do, is go and try and find a meditation that works for you online or something like that. And another thing is, this is something I advise you to do greatly, is do the research that you do want to do, because it does help you to realise that these symptoms that people so ready to associate with mental illness are actually what a lot of people manage to surpass. A lot of people have accounts of this where they were going through the very worst things that a person could go through. These people got sectioned, they got put on medication and stuff, and then something happened and they realised, hold on, this was just my development, it's just me going through a phase in my spiritual awakening where I must have looked outright crazy to people. And yeah, it's very helpful to do the research. And something that I watched a lot during the time was Spirit Science. I really like Spirit Science. I think it's brilliant. If you just type Spirit Science into YouTube, it comes up as this little cartoon by a guy called Jordan, I think, and that's fantastic. It really does help, even if you don't want to take in everything, because there's a lot of information there. It does help you to feel a lot better. It's very light-hearted too, so it's not as deep and heavy as a lot of like documentaries about the natures of the universe and sacred geometry and crystals and things like that can be. His is very very easy to follow. So I advise watching that, and I ultimately advise, because I am totally in love with Teal Scott, the spiritual catalyst. Her videos are amazing, and if you don't find a video that helps you, I'll be very surprised. I'll be very shocked, because there is so much subject matter covered in her videos. She does one every Saturday. It's askteal.com, and you should just definitely go and look on there. It's really useful, because she's been through hell too, so what she has experienced makes you feel a lot better that you can get to a place where you feel good again, because she has experienced some awful things, and she is a very big inspiration for people who suffer to get some meaning back in their life and to kind of put it in perspective about what it all was. So yeah, that's some advice. And the other thing is, don't let anyone discredit you, what you're feeling or anything. And I mean, you'll have your own doubts, so do not take the doubts of other people too, because a lot of other people will never ever go through this. They just won't, because they aren't ready to line up with such a big, vast change. And just remember that you asked for this, and I don't mean like, oh, you've made your own bed, you now got to sleep in it, you've messed yourself up. I mean, like, if you weren't open and ready for such a vast change in your spiritual life, and you know, like a big initiation, a big step up, you wouldn't be getting it. So know that you can deal with it and you can get through it, because you wouldn't even line up with it if you couldn't, and you never go through something that you cannot cope with, that you cannot come out of. So just remember that, and remember that above all, this is going to make you into an amazing person with amazing capacity to empathise and to love and to appreciate and be generous for every little thing that you get, every little blessing. Just to live, just to be alive, and because before this, I needed stimulus from either chemicals or, you know, something. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to appreciate the little things in life again, to just be able to feel the beauty of a sunny day or even a rainy day. You know, it's a fantastic thing to be able to get back into that symbiotic sort of happiness, you know, of being part of nature kind of thing. It's a wonderful thing, and you will get to that. You will. It is a very difficult phase, and well done to you for being able to deal with it, for sure. And I'm not saying if it does get too hard, I am definitely not saying don't go to the doctors, don't take any medication if you feel that that's what's going to help you. And if it's just too horrible, by all means go and do it. They will be able to help, but do know that you really don't have to need that, because you can get through this. You definitely can. And there is always love for you here. There is always love for you in the universe. You are a very loved being, and you're not as alone and isolated as you may think you are. And good luck with it. You will get through it.